Thanks for tuning in to Bitches Be Cray. Just a quick reminder, everything we share on this show reflects our personal experiences and what's worked for us. We're not healthcare professionals, so if you or someone you know is dealing with a medical or mental health concern, please reach out to a qualified professional for support. What's up, bitches? Welcome to Bitches Be Cray. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nancy. And today we're going to be talking about your inner teen / inner child and how they really do get in the way of your life.
Yeah. And before we get into that, though, Nancy and I had a really nice day today, and I just want to chat about it a little bit. We went on a nice, 1 mile?
A 1 mile walk.
Yeah.
That's Amanda branching out, guys. Yeah. Amanda's branching the fuck out.
Yeah, because remember a long time ago by now, because it's a few episodes in, I'm like, I don't like to go outside. I feel like nature is really important. And I know it's important to Nancy. And Nancy's mentioned before, I'm not much of a person to compromise, although she didn't ask me for this. Like, I'm just like learning more about myself, and I want to do things that make other people happy too. So... and I want to be in nature. So it was for me and it was for you. It was for both of us.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, it was only 82 out today, which isn't terrible. It was still a little warmer than I like. And Nancy was so worried the whole time that I was going to get sunburned because I didn't think, I'm like, oh, it's only going to be for a little bit. And then I was going to do sunscreen and I forgot. And Nancy's over here with her hat and her sunscreen. She's so prepared.
And I'm wearing a jacket too.
Oh, yeah. At 82.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get no fucking wrinkles.
Well, and Nancy did recently have a nice little beach trip, so she's like extra tan right now, so she's like hiding from the sun a little bit.
I'm super tanned and my skin is so dry.
But if you saw me, I'm like really pale, so some sun probably did me some good. But then we went to this cute little downtown area about 20 minutes from where we went on this walk. We went on a place we'd never been on a walk before. It was just like a cute little park, and like this, it was like a paved track, but it was like near the woods, near like a little field. I don't know, it was nice.
A little river.
Yeah. And we had a little scenic view by a river that we didn't even know existed. At least I didn't, but
it was really nice.
Then we went to the Burger Bus, and it's like in this really small like an old historic downtown situation. And we like pulled up and we're like, there's a lot of people on the streets.
It was very nice because every time we go, it's a really cute town.
Yeah.
Like if you live in Georgia, you have to go to Ball Ground. Like, it's like, to me, it's like a bucket list. And they have the botanic, the garden.
Yeah.
Gabe's Garden. Is it?
I think so, yeah.
It is beautiful. Like, it's like a must. But every time we go, the times we've gone, it's like 3 people in the town.
Yeah, it's like we just happened to go at the time where things are like shutting down and people have
they had like drink stands, and they had like alcoholic cupcakes and like
it's like it was an art, I don't know if I'd call it it wasn't a festival, but like a little,
like an art expo.
Yeah, like where they had like little tents up and they were selling all kinds of candles, and we saw some like catnip trees.
Yeah, it was like catnip, but like in a blunt.
Yeah, and Nancy's like, are you screwing with me? Is this for real? And they're like, yeah,
it's for a cat. And I'm like, you fucking serious? It's like literally a joint.
It was fun. It was pretty funny
for a cat.
And we saw some really these really inappropriate but offensive but in a funny way signs.
To a millennial.
Yeah,
they're offensive to millennials. They're funny to millennials, offensive to other people.
Like little patches to put on hats. You could just choose it. Anyway, they were really funny. It was cute. But we made one purchase. Everything was kind of expensive there. But
but everything's artisanal.
Yeah. So they can, you're not going to get this at the store.
You're not. Everything's handmade.
Yeah. But we got this, recently, well, Nancy already knew, magnesium was good for you. But, recently, I got some, magnesium spray. And when we had recorded our first podcast when we were on our trip, we, we were spraying each other with the magnesium. This is going to make you
And then we also made
good.
Rose water.
Yes.
And that's fucking changed my life, I think.
Rose water, my skin feels so soft. And it was so easy to make.
It was I've bought rose water from the store before, and I always was like, oh, but now that we've made it, I feel like I'll never buy it from the store again.
Yeah, because it's easy to do. It was obviously cheaper. It made so much.
And you know what's in it.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah, and my skin is so soft. I mean, I'm older, so I don't get a lot of breakouts, but since it's been hot, like when you're hot and sweaty,
Yeah.
like working out and stuff or whatever, or outside, like for my husband, he was like outside mowing in the heat, he'd be sweaty. I'm like, let me spray. He's like, I don't know, rose water. I'm like, yes, you do. It's good for you. So he's like, all right, spray it on. And then his face was like clearing up so quickly, and he hasn't used it since then. But I'm like, you should, it's good for your skin.
It is good. And your hair. But
Yep.
we bought some magnesium
Cream, like a cream. Yeah.
And
sea salt
and sea
scented. Yeah.
sea salt.
Yeah, it smells. I can't smell a lot since I had COVID a few years ago, but I could actually get a smell of this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can smell something, and it's a nice smell. And I'm like, I'm getting it too. It was like $20 for a little container, but
It's very little. But I mean, you're not supposed to abuse it either.
Yeah, just a little.
Just a little dab here and there to get you going.
So we'll have to update you. It's
Yeah,
actually
we will.
worth the $20 we $20 each for this little container. But
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
I cannot wait to go home and try it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our fun little day. And now we'll get into what this episode is all about, which is when your past like comes out to get you, whether it's your inner teen, your inner child, they show up whether you want them to or not. They get triggered. They show up. Sometimes they just show up randomly. But I'm sure it's always a trigger, but sometimes you don't even know
what it is.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about this on our car ride back because we had to drive up like 45 minutes away for this little day trip. But Nancy was like, I don't even know.
I don't know
what happened. I can't pinpoint why she showed up. But yeah.
Yeah, like I had a whole week this week where I was so emotional. Like I came back from Destin on Monday, and then I just like cried on Monday night. But I cried like a teenager. But you know what? I won't say that I linked it to my teen until Tuesday. So I cried and I was super emotional. And then on Tuesday, I woke up, I went to work, super fucking emotional. Just like for no reason, but for so many reasons at the same time.
Yeah. And I kind of thought something was going on with you because I noticed in a few different areas in your life, you were like talking to me, but you were like questioning like a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, is this like, I think this is happening and like I don't understand why. Like I just felt like you were cool, like you were really questioning a lot.
I was. So I guess this all kind of goes. So I've been like kind of like I guess conversating with someone and like a gentleman.
A gentleman caller.
A gentleman. I've taken on a gentleman caller.
Let's say you started talking to a guy.
Oh yes, and
that's what it is.
So I there's like a lot of green flags, but then the ones that are red flags, I thought they were red flags. But then my therapist on Tuesday, we had the conversations, and I was like hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was acting weird, and then I'm in the midst of crying and I'm just saying all this shit, and she's like, how old are you right now? And I'm like, what? She's like, how old are you? And I'm like, Amanda's dog wants me.
And Nancy,
I don't hate her. I just don't like her.
Nancy's not really into animals in
they all love me
too much, but they do. Every animal I've had has always wanted to be with Nancy, and we were like, literally, the reason I have this dog is because of Nancy. That's a different story.
Yeah,
but it's just because my dog's. So sorry if you hear any background noises. We got home recently, and my dog's super happy we're home, and she's just like torn up.
So I looked at her and I was like, what do you mean how old I am? She's like, how old are you acting right now, Nancy? And I was like, and it clicked. It clicked in my brain. I was like 15. And I was like, oh my God. So this whole entire, like, I would say even after I realized, because I used to be a binge eater and I talked about it in the other episode. And I used to have like more of a terrible relationship with food. But as I've grown and I've healed my inner child, which we'll talk about in other episodes, we'll go deeper into that. I don't really emotionally eat anymore. Like I eat, but so the whole week I've been eating like a teenager, acting like a teenager, having intrusive thoughts like a teenager, but the thoughts are so real that you think it's fucking you, that it's your adult self, like it's you. And then I feel that's where people make really rash, crazy decisions based on somebody else's basically have taken over your body. your old self, which is full of fear. And then there's nothing wrong with her. I love my inner teen. She took care of me for so long. But I think that I have to be like, girl, get the fuck off. Like, you've been here, like you've been fucking controlling me my entire life. Like, it's time that I'm here now. Like, that's basically what the inner teen and inner child is like. It needs an adult to basically be like, you're okay now. And that's what my therapist told me. She's like, now that you've realized that you're acting like a crazy bitch because you're a teenager, now you can tell her. She says that I still obviously don't. She doesn't trust me. So she's afraid because I'm talking to this person and that I am going to betray myself again. Because when I was in my early 20s and then when I was a teenager, I pretty much betrayed myself 24 fucking 7 in order to get a slither of love. So I think that she's afraid of, like, it's okay getting lost in the shuffle of my poor decision making. So all of that, like, I just feel like in 1 second, all of that clicked in my brain. All of it.
When, I feel like the fact, like, because you had told me last weekend, maybe, I don't know, you told me you're about to like do this carnivore thing for a minute, just because you just kind of want, like you said, like you tried it recently and like you had felt like pretty good.
I liked it.
So I'm like, I remember you saying like, I think I just want to do it for a little bit and, and see how I feel. And so when you told me that you kind of been eating whatever, I'm like, oh, something has to be going on because because normally when you say I'm going to go and do XYZ, like
when it comes to
you do.
And I think it was because I think I didn't even notice because, like I said, I wasn't binging and I wasn't overeating and I wasn't going over my calories per se. I was just eating like a fucking teenager. And then I noticed that I didn't know how, like, I noticed that I was comforting my teenager with food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. I was going through all these emotions. And then I have a friend that we used to be like super close. And we are not that close anymore. And then I started getting irrational thoughts again. And then that triggered me into thinking about like my teenage self when I didn't have a lot of friends and blah, 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 blah. And what is going on and this and that. And then it was just crazy shit. And the thing is that I'm very thankful that I'm this far in my healing journey, because back in the day, maybe 5 years ago, that would have been the truth for me. That I wouldn't have explored what the fuck was going on. Obviously, I wasn't in therapy by then, but I wouldn't explore what's going on. I would have just been like, no one loves me. I shouldn't be with that guy. He's a piece of shit. He's trying to ruin my life. And my fucking friend's a bitch. She don't fucking love me. She's going to abandon me. I have nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like like working on your inner child and teenager I feel like it's a godsend, because once you start reparenting yourself and showing up for yourself the way no one showed up for you when you needed it, it massively changes your whole entire life.
Yeah. And I mean, I think about like, since Nancy's been exploring this new like guy situation. I don't know if I'll call it a relationship yet. Like it's early.
My gentleman caller.
Yeah, it's still early, but I think sometimes she'll write to me and she'll be like, I really like him, and I'm like, that's awesome. And then like a few days later, she's like, I'm not sure about this, and I'm like, are you? And I think I've even said to you, like, are you sure this isn't like because your inner teen's around and your inner teen went through some stuff with some boyfriends, like, and you're like, you know what I mean? So I could see, I mean, I don't know that I would have named it like exactly like that, but I'm like, at least I thought your like hesitation around it was probably based on past relationships.
I didn't even notice it, but my therapist is like, you have basically given up. Like when the past when I've dated, I'm not gonna count my first boyfriend because that was some bullshit. That's an episode for like that's not even an episode, it's a book. But anyway, like my second relationship, I just feel like because I was kind of shitty in my first relationship, so I feel like in my second relationship I was trying to like kind of like overcompensate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be a giver. I'm going to be better. And I just gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. And I think that when this person that I'm talking to has made some comments about some kind of things that were completely normal and nothing crazy, that like just rose a flag in me that was like, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think my inner teen was like, bitch, we're about to get taken for a ride again.
Right.
And like, but it kind of showed me that I still don't trust myself. Like my inner teen still doesn't trust my adult self to make the right choice
In a romantic
relationship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like as an adult, when I hang out with the person, I feel normal. I feel fine. Everything's great. But then I start thinking like about the shit, and my inner teen's like, girl, you're going to get,
right.
We're going to get in it again.
Well, and I think it's hard because your last relationship has been a really long time ago.
It was almost a decade, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
A decade.
So, and you have not like, you might have.
No, I mean, I didn't even have like situationships either.
Like, so you haven't really, you might have had like a little crush on somebody for like 2 seconds, like here and there.
I mean, that guy that lied to me about his height. And that was in 2018.
Yeah. But yeah, so you like, I think it's hard. Number one, like even if your last relationship hadn't been the way it was, I feel like, well, a few things. I feel like once you have children and you try to date, it's different because you have to consider so many more things.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's that. Plus, just not have, like, the times have changed. People have changed, even though people your age, like that you're, the person you're talking to now, like, he's fine. He's cool. But I'm saying, like, just dating in general, like, it's just everything.
It's a shit show.
It's different. Everything's different than the last time you were in a relationship. Like, the world has changed.
Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, I met my ex in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And your last relationship was a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
This guy's accessible.
Yeah. You're right.
And I think that's hard for you because think about it. Like you were used to only, like you never had to think about when we were going to see each other. You knew when it was going to be because only the weekend was it.
If you wanted to see me.
Right? Gosh, we're definitely...
And all of a sudden someone's like, I want to see you. I'm like, get the fuck away from me, you monster.
Right? Like you don't, like,
ew.
What I keep telling her too is that you, like your teen was dating boys. Obviously you were a teen, so you should have been dating boys. That's what, but I mean, like when you're in the 19, early 20s, that's still like that was a teen type relationship too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, I feel like and also like how I grew up and everything and how my needs weren't really met. Who no one's where I'm not special. I feel like I feel like this is the first time in my life that I feel like a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like at some point I kind of also made my inner teen was telling me, Nancy, this is a test to see if you're still stupid. Like I feel like my inner teen was like, girl, you're stupid. You're still stupid. Like God's testing you. Like no. And I feel like, but then I have moments of clarity and I'm like, no, this is fine. If it doesn't work out, who gives a shit?
Well,
who gives a shit?
I'm just glad that you like want to talk. I mean, we've always talked about our relationship, so this isn't new, but I'm glad you talked to me about it because I've been like my relationships before this too were crap. Like my relationship now is good. This is probably the only healthy, because my first boyfriend, he was magical. He was great. I was the problem. Just like Nancy said, she was the problem. I was definitely the problem.
It's me.
The second one that we'll definitely have to have a conversation about. We were both the problem.
Yeah.
We were both the problem, but he was more the problem than me. But I let him be. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
Another time. But my third love, I guess my third love, we'll say my husband's my third love. And our relationship is like a grown-up relationship. When I met him, like he was a man. I was playing with boys before, and he was a man. Like he just had his shit together. He was like
a job, a home, a car,
right? All these green flags, like he knew what he wanted. And I'm like, Nancy, this is what's happening to you. And I get it with her because like I'm telling you, both of our like other love relationships were so similar. So it's like it's hard to accept when someone's chill and nice and wants to spend time with you and wants to call you and like you don't know how to accept it. It's weird.
I feel like my adult self is like, okay, cool, I earned this because I've worked really hard on myself.
Yeah.
But then my teenager's like, girl,
she's scared. She's been hurt.
Yeah. And I feel like for people who haven't worked on the inner child or the inner teen, I feel like if you want to start, my tidbit would be to spend like at least 5 minutes every morning when you wake up giving your inner teen or child what they need. Or if you're doing something that you used to do when you were a teenager, like for me, it was emotional eating, we saw this on a YouTube video. Remember that one you sent me? It says like to think about like why, like what happened when you were a teen that made you do it, and what needs need to be met.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stop yourself from getting the food or whatever the heck you do to abuse yourself.
Right.
And then you give yourself. I think I just needed to say, I got it, girl.
Yeah.
I got it. And even if we do get hurt, my therapist, we did a meditation too, an inner teen meditation. And where I gave her affirmations, and one of them is said, we've been through worse shit.
Yeah.
And we made it.
Yeah.
And that's the fucking truth.
Right.
Like hard. Like damn, my inner teenagers went through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like some shit. So I feel like it was very eye-opening. It was a good.
Yeah, but I feel like your inner teen, she was around like most of this week. Like
She was
the whole week.
hardcore.
Is she gone? Is she still here? Don't know yet. Today I felt like you were very adult, making very adult decisions.
Yeah, I think today I was an adult. Yeah.
Because I will say something that would have used to have got us. Like we were gonna go because the last time Nancy came, I was like, oh, like we were talking about dessert. I actually don't eat dessert much, but like sometimes, like if I'm
we
with
usually
you,
don't get dessert ever.
But last time we're like, oh, I'm like, oh, Costco got this new cookie. Like we could have the cookie. And by the time we were ready to leave the place we were the last time, Costco was closed. Well, today we spent a little bit too much time at the fair, and I wasn't even thinking about the time because it's a Saturday. You would think Costco's open till like 8 o'clock. They close at 6. So we got in the car. It was like probably like 5:45ish, and we were like 40 minutes away from Costco. And when I put it up on my GPS, it's like, yeah, this place is going to be closed when you get there. And I'm like, well, and I feel like we've talked about this before. I've had food tantrums or tantrums around food, and I've been, well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I mean, I've been doing some work this past week too, but I was just like, all right, whatever. And I just let it go. And I don't do that. Well, I used to not do that. New me is not doing that anymore.
New her. I will say before I'm going to toss the baton to Amanda so she can talk about her journey this week. But me and Amanda realized this week that our relationship is food centered.
Mm-hmm.
So today was not the last day we'll ever eat together, but the last day that our hangouts revolve around food.
Yeah, because today we went to the Burger Bus because
we had a plan before.
She was going to come for my birthday, and we were going to go, and then she was sick on my birthday, and she's like, I'll still come. She's like, it's been many days. I'm fine. I'm like, you just go ahead and rest and don't come over here.
Get the fuck away from me.
I'm so good. I'm like, I just turned down a dinner with my mom and brother because they were sick, so I'm seeing nobody. But so she came and we went, and I don't know. We decided to do the podcast while she was here, and I said we should go walk. So we were already incorporating more things than just food, but obviously the point when we first planned the trip for her trip here was the Burger Bus.
And that's all our not all our hangouts, but like,
well, we were talking about this when we were like teens. I'm saying teens, like 19, 20, 21. When we lived in the same city, we were literally 5 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
So when you're that close, it's easy to do like just a short little thing together, whatever. Like sometimes we literally did just go walk the loop.
Yeah.
Sometimes she literally did just come sit on my porch on the rocking chairs and we chatted. Sometimes we literally did just go to the movie, and it was fine because we were down the street. But we started talking about and it just so happens I thought about this like just a minute ago. When our relationship, I mean, and don't get me wrong, we were eating a lot during that time. I'm not saying we weren't eating. But when I moved, and then when she moved, is when we were both starting to have we were already, okay, so we had hard times with food, but we were having like an extra hard time with food at that point. Yeah. And when we met up then, it was pretty much centered around the food, right? And so we did that for a few years, and then now we're saying, okay, let's take a step. Because the past few years, like when we mentioned we'd rekindled a friendship before, we started doing like activities and food. Like we were still eating because that's what I'm saying. Like,
but you gotta eat,
right? It's unrealistic to think we're not going to eat because an hour's not far. I'm not saying it's far, but like if you think about, you're going to drive an hour to somebody's house, an hour back, that's 2 hours. Plus, if you're going to drive an hour, you're probably going to hang out for 2+ hours. Like eventually in that time frame, you're going to need food, and we'll probably certainly have to plan, hey, let's go here or there. But we want to make sure that when we're getting together, we're not just getting together for food. We're just going to eat because we have to eat to live.
Yeah, like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be at this whatever. Let's see what's there. Yeah, because but it's just like it's like hardcore. Like we look at the Yelp reviews, we look at the fucking pictures, we go all in. But so Amanda has,
And Nancy will say that's my fault because I turned her
no,
on.
she's the one that turned me to that. I didn't used to do that. But Amanda, tell us about your revelation that you had this week.
Yeah, so pretty much what happened was because of a previous podcast episode we did that you may have already heard or may not have heard, but let me give you just a little insight about that. Was we were talking like about my issues with food, and Nancy's like, what do you think your biggest issue is? And I'm like, there's probably multiple. I'm like, I really don't know, like the main like source. And Nancy's like, oh, I think it's probably a lot to do with control because clearly I have control issues in other places. I really am working on that though. But anyway, and so it just so happened after the episode, I went to talk to my husband and I was like, you live with me, you see me, maybe you'll have some insight on this. And so I said to him, like, what do you think my issue with food is? And he was like, oh, easy, FOMO. And I was like, oh, yeah, because all this, like if we're going to a restaurant and I think, especially if I think it kind of goes with scarcity, like FOMO and scarcity are related, but it kind of goes like, oh, I'm going to drive like here's a good example. Like this happened, I don't know, months ago, but we went to Texas Roadhouse.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one like super close. It's not really far, but the one we go to is about 30 minutes away. Again, that's not really far, but it's not a place we go very often at all. So, and we were going like on a little date night. So we went there. And normally when I go to restaurants, I just get like my entree and like, they have like free rolls. They have free rolls there.
Mm-hmm.
So
like
I don't normally get an appetizer. Everything's like cool. But I remember like, oh man, I'm not going to come here for a long time. So like we got an appetizer. So I had an appetizer. I got dinner. I didn't eat all the appetizer. Obviously I shared it. I think I had like actually one piece of it, but I just got like too much food because I'm like, I don't know when I'm coming back. I feel like I really do this around breakfast, especially if I'm going somewhere that has biscuits. I want to get multiple biscuits because look, here we go. I'm going to relate back to childhood here. My grandma used to make biscuits for me every Saturday of my life when I lived next door. I mean, every Saturday. You came and had some biscuits before, right?
I did.
I'm telling you, my entire childhood, every Saturday, biscuits. No matter what, that's what happened. And so once I was older and moved away, I'm like, well, no more biscuits, So now it's like anytime that I think I'm going to get a biscuit, I feel like I'm like, I want to, because I don't know when I'm going to get a biscuit again, because I don't do that very often. So my husband said, yeah, you have an issue with FOMO because you act like you're never going to get it again.
And she also gets jealous when other people are having something and she's not having it.
Yes, 100%.
Like a child.
Yes. And it's mostly around, honestly, for me, that's less around food and more around drinks, which drinks all really are part of food.
Like she's having an apple juice, I want one too.
Yeah. Like if like one time we were going to dinner and with your child, right?
Yeah.
And we were I say all the adults because my daughter was there too, but she's practically 18. So she's still a child though. But like we were all like, yeah, so we're having water and then your daughter's meal came with a drink. So of course she's going to get a drink. And then she had Coke and I'm like, you have to pick my favorite beverage. So like I have that's honestly my biggest.
That's my job.
my biggest FOMO thing is always around Coca-Cola, because if I go out with people and I can have a plan to get water, and if everybody else at the table gets water, I'll be fine. But if I go and someone at the table is going to get a Coca-Cola or actually they don't have to get that. They could get a sweet tea. They could get a Sprite. It's just like, you're having a fun drink. I want a fun drink. That is like
I want it.
Like Nancy actually said to me today, she's like, I'm getting a Coke. Is that going to be a problem? I'm like, no. I said, absolutely not. I'm getting a Coke today too. It's fine.
I was like, because I'm like, if we're gonna we did it again though. We like, if we're gonna be hanging out, we're gonna have whatever we want today.
Yeah. So, yeah. So he says FOMO, which actually led me, I'm like, you know what? Let me go and see what kind of information I can find on food FOMO. And I don't think I told you this part, but I actually went to ChatGPT and I'm like, can you give me some guidelines to help me with food FOMO? I have to share them with you. I asked them for guidelines around some other things. I'm like, dang, ChatGPT, thank you. Thank you for that. You just saved me like 4 hours of reading a book. No, I still have a book. I'm going to read a book. But I went on to like Spotify to look. I'm like, I'm sure I can find some kind of podcast because I have a massage chair. And I'm like, let me go sit in this massage chair and just listen to something about like how to fix this food FOMO issue. And I came across this podcast. It's called Weight Loss for Busy Physicians. I am not a physician. However, I'm like, well, whatever, I can still listen. And she kind of says that too. She just kind of created this podcast because she's a physician and she was overweight. Her name's Katrina Ubel. She's on, you can see her podcast on YouTube, Spotify, probably everywhere. She has like hundreds of episodes about all kinds of things, and they're pretty short episodes. So they're just really nice, like little tips. But she came up because I typed in FOMO, and she has an episode about that. And she was just kind of like going through all these things. And I'm like, yep, that sounds exactly like me. And I won't give away her tips, mostly because I can't think of what they all are right now. But I mean, she basically, it was kind of around it. Like she was saying something along the lines of like whatever it is in the moment, like if you've already told yourself you're not going to have something, just remind yourself like it's still going to be there. You can have it another time. Or if you're full but you're afraid you're going to miss out on it, like remind yourself you can have it another time. She's like, and think about it, she like did do an example of brownies, and she's like, maybe you're at like a work event and there's brownies and you're like, ooh, I really want a brownie, but you've already like eaten and you're full, so you shouldn't because you're literally full. And she was like, imagine it's like brownies with nuts in it and you don't even like that. And she's like, so I'm just going to tell myself I can have brownies if I want brownies, but they're going to be the brownies I want. And when my body is actually has the space for the brownies. She's like, I'm not saying don't eat the brownies. She's like, don't waste your time on those brownies. Those aren't even the brownies you want. So I think that's really true. I do feel like at work events or social events, there is like a pressure to eat the snacks or the treats there, right? Like,
yeah,
it
absolutely. Like why the fuck now they're free?
Yeah. So I don't know. It was a really good episode. Like I said, I won't give all of her tips because I don't know them, and that's because that's her stuff. But she has a lot of insight, and she's a person who has lost a lot of weight. So I mean,
But talk about your the like what food is to you, what food means to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. That's my next step. So because of that podcast, I'm like, let me see what else I can find. And so I was like looking up stuff, and I don't remember exactly what I looked up when I came across this girl, but her name is Rachel Wrigley, and she's a coach of some sort as well. But she suffered from, well, actually, she mentioned like a lot of different like food disorders, but
I have them all.
But she did mention like binge eating disorders, but like she talks about that one a lot. But anyway, in her little video, she was basically saying, I want to ask you some questions, and I want you to rate yourself 1 to 10 on how you feel like about all these things. And so she like just goes through stuff like, I don't remember exactly all the questions, but like, like, do you feel like you have a sense of purpose?
Do you belong in the world?
Yeah. Do you get enough sleep? Or like, how are your stress levels? Are you getting like warmth? Like, are your sensual needs being met? Like she mentioned, like massages, seeing sunsets, like, all your 5 senses, like, are your needs being met like all the way around? And so like, as she went through them, I was rating myself pretty high on most of them. There were a few like, I definitely need more sleep. I don't remember the other one right now. There was something else. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of low on that one too. But for the most part, I'm like, I'm okay right now. But then she said, now, if you think back at different points in your life, where were you on the scale? She probably has a process that I haven't found yet where you probably like literally lay out your life and you kind of map yourself out and where you were. But one thing that came up for me was like around inner child stuff. I wasn't like in my inner child at the moment having like but like I was like, oh, I realized it was something to do with my inner child, because she mentioned, like I said, like there was one about like, do you feel like warmth, joy, like, basically like a warmth and love, like, and to me, I instantly thought of like parents, like you feel, or not everyone, but you should feel like safe and that warmth and joy with your parents. And I thought about, one of the times I really started using food as a problem was when I was in college away from my mom. And when I was a teenager, and, as teenagers, you often do kind of start separate. Well, maybe not everybody, but I kind of separated a little bit from my mom, right? Like I was just like, yeah, we don't need to hang out as much as we used to, kind of thing. I feel like a lot of teenagers do that. But I was talking to Nancy about it, and she's like, okay, so basically you're like, I don't remember exactly what I said to you, but I know I gave you like a list of what I was relating to. She's like, oh, so you're saying like food is like taking the place of your mom. And I was thinking like, how did I not recognize that when I mentioned my mom like 3 times?
You did.
And so then I went and told my husband about it, and he's like, let me one up you here. Or I don't remember what he said, something like that. He's like, what if it's actually about your dad? And I'm like, what? How are you? I'm like, I came in here and told you these things about my mom. Like, where are you getting my dad? And he was like, well, he's like, because he knows my mom, and my mom's a lovely person. Mom's a sweet, lovely person, but she has more of a, like, she's a tomboy.
She's a masculine woman.
Yeah. She's not like, I mean, she read me stories, like that kind of stuff, but honestly,
she built a whole house.
Yeah. When I was a little girl, my dad used to take me to school and he was the one who brushed my hair
No.
and put it, I mean, the ponytail was not great, but he would like put my hair up in a pony, like on the side. Like my dad, like, so the nurturing I was getting in my life when I was a child was, I feel like it was more from my dad. I was definitely like, I liked my dad more. Like,
Yeah.
in a way, like like my dad was really bubbly, outgoing, like always cracking jokes, like always holding my hand, like taking care of me, getting me ready for school, all of that kind of stuff. And you know what I just thought of? Sometimes I was late to school and it's because this did not happen often. I'm talking about maybe once a month we would get a biscuit.
No.
Just look at me with these biscuits. I have a problem. I have a problem with biscuits.
But now it's a cute
No,
memory.
do you know where your old best friend used to live? Across the street there was that favorite market, and there was a little restaurant called Kelly's.
Oh, yeah.
There's still something there now, but it's not Kelly's.
No, it's a Mexican thing now.
That was the best biscuit. They do have Kelly's now, but I went.
Kelly's is down the street now.
Yeah, it's off of, well, I won't say the highway, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah, I know where it is. And I went to that one time.
Yeah.
It was not the same. It's the same. It is the same people, but it didn't taste the same anymore. But anyway, so like I had that with my dad. Like, so my dad was more like what I would, when I think of like sunshine and warmth and happiness in my life, it was my dad. And so when he passed away, I was 10, almost 11. And so a big piece of warmth went way down for me. And my mom, I mean, God bless my mom. She worked really hard, like at her job, to make sure we had stuff. But I feel like she checked out for a little bit, which I get. She was going through, she lost her husband. Now she's like, oh gosh, I have 2 kids to raise. I don't have to do this all by myself. So I get it.
Yeah.
She checked out.
We're not mom blaming.
Right. No, she was having a moment. And now as an adult, I totally get it. I mean, and my grandparents were my neighbors. So it's not like I'm over here fending for myself. I still had support from my family, but my mom couldn't be there probably in a way I needed her to be at that time. And I get it. I totally get it now. I don't think I even realized it then. I didn't realize it, but I'm just saying, like, so really, I think, you know, when I'm thinking of that 1 to 10 scale, like that stuff went way down for me. That's also around the time we started eating fast food a lot, because my mom was just like, she didn't have it in her. She just didn't. She's just like, let's just get this done and move on. Let me feed you people. And then let me go have my time to like grieve. And I get that. So yeah, that made me think like, oh, you know what? It's probably about my dad and about my mom, like my stuff with food. Not that they caused the problem per se, but my levels of needs were low and I was filling the void with food.
Yeah, food was your mom and your dad.
Yeah, for sure. It was.
Yeah.
It was what was giving me the happiness, the joy, the warmth. Like it was making me feel safe, secure. I knew it was always going to be there, you know? So that really happened. And I don't think I told you this, but after that, I went on Google and ChatGPT and was like searching for it. Because when I was telling Nancy, after my husband said it was about my dad, I was just like, what? And then I was telling Nancy that, and she was like, oh, well, you know, if he was the more like, you know, giving you the warmth than your mom.
Then he was your mom.
Yeah. Like my dad was not feminine at all. He was like a hardworking boy, but still his personality was like a bubbly, happy character, where my mom's got like my husband. She's just kind of like,
she really is
like a blah a little bit, but I like blah people. Maybe it's because my mom's like that. I don't know. Like I'm so much personality that I need to be with someone a little blah around me. I need to surround myself with a little blah because I'm a lot. But I decided to when I was telling Nancy about it, I like started crying. I'm like, what is going on? Because for some reason, my husband says, this is why he also thinks I need therapy. He thinks too that I've never really grieved. And because to me, I feel like mostly when I think about dad, like I don't really get, I mean, sometimes I'll think about him like, oh, you know, I wish he was here for XYZ, but I don't feel like upset. And I'm like, I feel like I already grieved about it. But then I'm like, well, you were like 11. It's not like you went to therapy. Someone might have said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. But how am I supposed to know what I need? So really, I probably have a lot of unprocessed feelings about that.
And if you really think about it, weight is a layer of protection.
Yeah. Right.
So there might, if you stop using food and that is your plan, a lot of stuff might come up.
Yeah.
A lot.
It absolutely could. Well, I bought a book. It's supposed to show up. It's about dealing with grief and loss. I mean, it actually has like sections, like one's about death, one's like about divorce. Like there's a few different sections there. It was very highly rated. I would tell you what it is, but I don't remember what it's called. But ChatGPT recommended like 10 books, and I looked them. I'm like, that one's dumb.
Maybe
that one's
you
dumb.
can put
like,
it in the
this one's
notes.
good. Yeah, I'll look it up and I'll link it. And I'll also link the podcast I mentioned and the girl from YouTube because they were really helpful. And, here on our podcast, we want to give you tips and tricks, but mostly we're telling you our stories. So
And how we handled it.
Yeah, because we want you to realize, because I mean, if you think about it, you're probably thinking somebody out there is probably going through this, but you never know. Sometimes it's just nice to hear like someone and you're like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm not alone. They're going through some stuff too. Like,
yeah.
And so, yeah, so we just want to point you to some resources as well that can be helpful to you. But your inner child, your inner teen, like Nancy mentioned earlier, you got to find a way to reparent them. I'm still really early in that kind of work, I feel, but the things I've done so far, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see, I can start to see why I'm making some decisions I make now based on what happened in my childhood and what happened when I was a teen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like my last tip is going to be, if you have children and it's not acceptable for your child, then it's not acceptable for you.
Yeah.
You're a person. So if you wouldn't let your daughter get up at 3:00 in the morning and shove her face with Oreos, then you don't do that.
Right.
And if you wouldn't tell your daughter she's a dumb bitch, or she's ugly, or she's fat, or she's stupid, or unworthy, or nobody's ever going to love her, then why the fuck is that acceptable for you?
Exactly. And another point to go with that, I feel like when, at least I've done this as a parent, I would always be very particular of how I plated my children's food, like making sure they had a balance. And like, of course you can have dessert. You can have 2 little cookies, not a whole bag. No, you can't, you know what I mean? No, you can't have 5 sodas. I mean, I don't have 5 sodas at dinner, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like if I will do that for you, cause I want you to have these good habits and thoughts around food, like, hello, it seems like it should be so easy to think, do it for yourself too. But we kind of think we're adults and we can do whatever.
But the thing that people don't understand, most people out here are not adults.
Yeah.
We're big kids with money.
Yeah.
And we're out here acting the fuck up.
And I act like that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I want this. I want it.
I must have it.
Yeah, like we went to the store and I bought all the pumpkins. But listen, I don't have any fall decorations. And it's not like I spent hundreds of dollars. It was less than $100. Just got some little plastic pumpkins to decorate.
But I hope this episode has at least helped someone not feel so alone when it comes to your emotions.
Yeah, and dealing with things from your past, especially your inner child and inner teen, because they come around whenever they want to.
They really do, and you just have to calmly hug them.
Yeah, you have to take care of them. You can't ignore them.
No,
because if you ignore them, they're going to stick around. You have to comfort them. You have to do. You're an adult. You know how to.
And if you don't, there's so many tools, so many books, so many resources now. I feel like back in the day we had no idea about anything.
Yeah. Yep. Now information is at your fingertips. You can find it anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for tuning in with us today, and we'll catch you next time. Bye bitches.